Well, hello everyone. My name is Dennis, and we are welcoming you to another show of Renovating Riches, where we're going to be talking about what, Ricardo?
And he just mentioned my name. My name is Ricardo. We're going to talk about the 70% rule for flippers, for house flippers, and also for wholesalers.
Yeah, wholesalers need to know this
You
rule.
need to know this if you're into wholesaling and you want to sell properties to guys that are flipping houses. We use the 70% rule all the time. And in this 30-minute podcast, we're going to show you how we apply it in our business in order for you to be successful. So stay tuned. 70% rule. If you're a new flipper, you need to watch this. Hit like, subscribe, and share. Thank you. Welcome to Renovating Riches Radio.
Hello everyone. How are you, Ricardo?
I'm doing great, Mr. Dennis. Today we have a great podcast. We're going to talk to our fellow flippers.
And wholesalers too, because they need to know this.
And some of the guys that might be, looking into getting into flipping. They don't know how to flip a house, or maybe what we really want to talk about is the formula. That 70% rule formula that most of us that flip houses use.
Mm-hmm.
And which, by the way, if you want to find a larger explanation after this particular show, go back about a year ago. We talk about that as well. So,
yeah, this is not the first time we talk about this topic in particular, but we find out that people still asking questions, and how do you determine what's a good deal, or what's the maximum offer that you can make on a particular house. So we decided, let's retouch on this, because there's still people out there that have lots of questions, and
we want to do a refresher, a quick 30-minute refresher on how to determine repairs. Not really determine the repairs, but more about the formula. How it is that you're gonna make money flipping houses, and and what is the offer that you need to be making, formula wise. Okay, we're gonna talk about percentages and things of that nature.
This is a math intensive podcast.
By the way, I failed at math, so plenty of times when I was in high school. So Mr. Dennis will be the one displaying it on our whiteboard behind that monitor that you're looking at right now. If you're watching the video, if you're listening to us, bear with us. We will be trying to be as explicit as possible. That way you can
follow us, even if you're listening to the podcast.
Yeah, if you're listening to it while you're driving to work in your car, or maybe with your family and kids, taking out or listening to the Renovating Riches Radio podcast on a Sunday drive.
You might have to have your kids explain to you how the formula works.
Absolutely. So let's get down to the nitty-gritty. This is easy, guys. Easy. What is the formula, Mr. Dennis?
It's 70%. So what's generally known out there, and there's a reason why it's 70% it's used, and I know Ricardo can touch in that topic later on. But basically, when you're looking at a property and you need to make an offer, the first number you need to start with is what's called the ARV, the after repair value. So before you even drive or go to visit a property, you need to know what that property can sell for in optimum condition in the market where you're at. So that's the first number you need to make sure even before going into an appointment.
How do you determine an ARV, Mr. Dennis?
Well, the easiest way is to do what's called a CMA, or comparative market analysis, which is basically a process done normally by realtors, because they have access to recently sold data in your area. So let's say, for example, you are looking at a property, or you got a call from someone that's wanting to sell a property in a specific neighborhood. Well, if you don't have access to the MLS, there are websites that could be used, and I'm not going to get into those details, but the easiest and best way to do it is just to reach out to someone that has a real estate license, that have access to the MLS in your area, and tell them, hey, I'm looking at this property that I'm going to make an offer, and the property is, the most important things are number of bedrooms, bathrooms, square footage of the house, year built, and some other details like if it has a garage or not, or a pool or not. But that realtor is gonna try to find properties that are very, very similar within the same neighborhood, or the same area, and he's gonna look back. Normally not more than 90 days, but in some areas, if houses doesn't sell that quickly, they might go back a little bit, farther
They gotta
out.
go back 6 months. In some cases, like Dennis and I, we buy houses out in the country. They gotta go back sometimes 2 years
Yeah, because
because
there's nothing. I mean, depending on the area, some areas people, like buy a house, and houses don't move or don't sell like every year. So it depends, and some people will argue about that and going that far back. But anyways, in a good scenario, you are in a neighborhood where houses are selling.
you're gonna be on a cookie cutter neighborhood.
Yeah, if you're in a cookie cutter neighborhood, then that realtor will go back about 90 days, and he's going to find, okay, so how much houses sold in that neighborhood in the past 90 days, and houses that are as similar as possible to the one you're looking at. And with those numbers, they can tell you, okay, so that house you're looking at, based on my market analysis, can sell for, let's say, $200,000 once fixed up.
Right.
So that's your starting number.
So, and also on the comparable analysis, you want to make sure they got 4 properties in there.
Yeah.
Usually it's about 3. That will be the golden number. And that's going to establish a price per square foot.
Mm-hmm.
And you want to compare 3 bedrooms, 2 bath to another house that's got 3 bedrooms, 2 bath. Usually houses that are different in size and in the number of bedrooms or bathrooms are gonna throw a different number.
Yeah.
So, but anyways, the price per square footage should be somewhere around the same within the neighborhood. With that being said, once you know what the price of the property is, which is your ARV, after repair value, and keep in mind that you have to compare apples to apples. So if a house was fully remodeled and rehabbed and it was sold for a certain price, then your house that you're going to be buying and rehabbing should compare to that.
Yeah.
Now, if a house sold for maybe $50,000 less or $70,000 less or whatever the case might be,
Look at the pictures.
make sure that the house was remodeled, because if it wasn't remodeled, then that really is not an ARV. That's actually somebody that's paying above market value for something that was maybe in some sort of distress.
Or outdated. It doesn't have to be, distressed, but some houses are outdated. They never
To
changed.
me, the translation is an outdated house is distressed. Period.
Okay. No, because
So-
some people think distressed like, oh, the walls are falling.
No.
or the roof, the
What I
ceiling.
mean is it needs to be remodeled and updated.
Yeah.
So if a house, and we've seen it where properties, but this property sold for $70,000 less. Yeah, it probably wasn't remodeled, so it doesn't compare to what we're trying to do.
It still has the green carpet and the pink tile.
bathrooms, pink bathrooms from the 70s and the 60s, or maybe a lot of galvanized piping. Whatever the case might be, you want to do your due diligence. Make sure you're comparing apples to apples.
And make sure that your realtor knows what you're trying to do and comes up with a realistic number.
And if you don't have a realtor, then go on all these different websites and just cross-reference, what they think the properties are worth. You can also look at what the properties are selling in the area, because a realtor, most likely, not all the time, most likely, they did their homework, and they told the owner of the property, said, look, we can list your property for maybe $200,000, and I think this is a good price to get. So maybe another realtor already did the homework for you, but don't rely on that, okay? You just got to make sure that
that's just like a broad guidance, but
Yeah.
but in order to get your number right, do it only on sold properties, houses that have closed.
that is correct.
So with that number, then you need to start subtracting.
So you
Stuff.
mentioned $200,000,
Yes.
Mr. Dennis. So what's 70% of $200,000?
140, if I'm not mistaken.
It is 140,000. So now, as a flipper, you want to make sure you buy and fix the property. And why don't we write it down there in the
Okay,
back?
let's start.
Let's start the drawing. Get on the drawing board, but you need to get
Yeah.
the headset.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, you don't need the headset right now.
I don't need to hear headset. You're right.
No. You see, this is how we're doing this on the fly. So we apologize if it's taking too long. But Mr. Dennis is actually in the process of moving the monitor off to the side, so he can actually go back on the whiteboard. And if you're listening to us, we're gonna talk to you and we're gonna tell you what the formula is and the numbers and all of that. If you're watching us on YouTube, this is a great time where you go on and subscribe, hit share, hit like, tell your friends, tell your family, tell your grandma, grandpa, your friends, everybody. We want you to share this with the world. Somebody, it might not be you, but somebody might need this information going forward. So if you know somebody that's looking to get into flipping houses, and they don't know where to start, maybe they don't know how to do the math, just send them this video, because it's gonna help them out, or the podcast. And if they want to get and ask questions, tell them to go on the Renovating Riches Radio website and send us a message. So are we live there, Mr. Dennis?
Yeah.
All right, perfect. So ARV, after repair value, 200,000. Mr. Neil, can you get us a calculator, please? I have one on my desk upstairs. Did you see? This is how we do this. We do it on the fly. So minus 30% is $60,000. So $60,000 basically is what you're shooting for as a flipper on profits. So you want to buy it and fix it for $140,000. Now, once you determine, and this is a great, you know what, Dennis, I like that you picked this number, because we have a property we're wholesaling right now that fits this criteria. It's a house in Brazoria. By the way, if you want to buy off-market properties in the Houston area, go to 70percentallin.com. That's our website. Make sure you register, get on our mailing list. That way, when we post properties there, you can find access. Those are properties we wholesale. We flip houses, but we also wholesale, so we can't flip them all. So now, can you're live on the microphone, right?
I should be.
Okay, perfect.
Into our producer.
Yes. All right. And you guys can see, Mr. Dennis has lost some weight. He's been training and exercising for a triathlon. So, bicycle and swimming and walking and doing all kinds of things. So, good job. All right. ARV, $200,000. 30% is the profits. You want to make 60 grand on this flip.
Touch on that point, because some people ask, why 70%? Where does that number come from? And it has a lot to do with refinancing and what banks will give you.
Yes, if you have to keep the property as a rental property, when you go to refinance it, for whatever reason, the banks they want to have some equity in there as well, secure with the loan. So most banks, once you get, some banks are doing 85%, 80% of after repair value. So at 80%, then your equity is gonna be basically 40,000. So the other 20,000 will go towards closing costs, paying the title company, the points and the fees, the origination from the new loan, and that's how they make sure that you actually also cash flow positive as well. So that's why we use 70%. Is because number one, we want to shoot for 30% profits. Number two, if we need to refinance it, then if the appraisal comes to about 200,000, and remember, appraisals change, so it might be $200,000 today, it might be $210,000 tomorrow, it might be $190,000 tomorrow. So that number will fluctuate based on properties that sold within the area. Now, if you had to flip the house and keep it because you couldn't sell it, then you go into the next step, which is refinancing, and this is what Dennis is talking about. You refi the property. Banks are going to give you 80%, 85% in some cases. What we deal with, it's usually 75% because now we do them in volume. We do more properties. We're higher risk as per the banks. and they want to keep more equity on the loans. So even with that 5%, we're able to put closing costs rollover onto the new loan for the most part. Sometimes we got to bring a little bit of money to the table to keep the house and the loan low enough to where it cash flows on the rent. But that's pretty much why that 70% rule came in. And it's also healthy for you to have 30% equity spread on the property itself, because if you get out of budget, now you're gonna buy it and fix it for maybe, I don't know, 80 or 85% of the ARV, but when you sell it, after you pay commissions and closing costs, you're also gonna get a good check out of it. So repairs. I'm actually gonna talk about the property we have in Brazoria under contract right now that we're selling.
Use that as an example.
Yeah, I'm gonna use that as an example. So the repairs in Brazoria is 50,000.
How do you, or how does a newbie, a new investor, can come up with that number?
So a new investor will come up with this number very simple. If you're a newbie, you need to go find somebody that's doing this already.
Like a contractor?
Or another flipper. Somebody that's going to guide you through the process, because the last thing you want to do is go buy a house like I did and not know how to estimate repairs and screw it all up. So I've done that, by the way. My first house, I thought I had it figured out, and I didn't, and I ended up actually putting double the amount of money that I had to on the rehab. So if you're a newbie, I highly suggest go find a flipper in the area. Pay him to teach you how to flip a house, because these guys are very busy. They got limited time. They don't have the time to go look at the property or tell you exactly what a repair estimate is. We've done it so many times that now we just walk through properties and we know what the repairs are. And still we screw it up, I mean, because you got gremlins hiding behind the walls, and sometimes you open up a wall and the termites ate up the whole studs and all of that, and that's something you didn't have on the budget, and you're gonna have to pay for that. But anyways, this particular property's got $50,000 in repairs, and I'm gonna talk to them real fast. Basically, it's about $6,000 on foundation. We got about another $6,000 on a new AC unit that needs to be installed. The roof is done, so that doesn't count. So that's $11,000 already in between AC and foundation. We need to upgrade the electrical. That's another probably $5K. So you're looking at $16,000. Then a new kitchen for the house is around $8,000 because it's a big house. So you're looking at what?
20, so 16 and 8,
24. And then we need to trim all. It's a big property. It's on a half acre. So we need to trim the back. That's probably about $3,000 just to do a little bit of landscaping.
So we're at 27.
We're at 27,000. You see how very quickly you're already on almost $30,000, and you haven't even painted the walls yet. In between drywall, bathrooms, each bathroom is $4,000. It's got 2 bathrooms, so you're looking at 8,000.
So we're at 35.
We're at 35, and the other 15 will go on the flooring and the painting of the house itself.
Yeah, and some, fixtures like lamps.
All the new fans and the new lighting and things
and
like
doors
that.
And doorknobs.
Right. So I would actually put $55,000 on the rehab for a little bit of framing, because the master bedroom needs to be reframed, and the bathroom needs to be modified. Yeah. So let's say $55,000. Let's change that number for you know what? You're right. It's $55,000 because we're selling it for $85,000.
Okay.
So we're selling the property right now for $85,000, which, by the way, we might end up buying this house ourselves and fixing it if we don't get to sell it next week. So people all the time say, "Oh, how come I can't find deals at 70%?" Well, we find them, but they might be far away. They might be in the country. They might be in areas where they're not as easy to approach. This is a great example on a house that we have under contract right now that we can let go for $85,000, put another $55,000 in it, and make it worth $200,000. Now, a lot of people say, okay, that's, a lot of people say, how do I, actually do the, after you do the 60,000, you gotta subtract, like Dennis said, closing costs, holding costs, and what else, Dennis? Closing and holding costs, and that's gonna give you your true profit. So we're looking at maybe $45,000 profit if you do this house in 3 months after you pay realtor fees, title companies, and maybe some of the holdings on the interest. So maybe 45 grand will be your walkaway check. You do 3 of those houses a year, then you're looking at 120 plus 15. That's 135. So you can make $135,000 a year doing this 3 times a year, which is very doable. Um, so
Now, as a flipper, this will be your offer.
that would be the perfect number to get it. Most people today that are selling these type of houses, they're selling them for 100. So they're not, because they're not leaving the flipper with enough, you know, budget to repair it. So they have to come out of pocket because of the scarcity of properties. There's not that many properties out there, so a wholesaler picks it up, and they're gonna try to maximize their profits as well. Us, we understand the business. I rather sell you a property at 70% and move it quicker than try to milk it for, I don't know, 80 or 90%. So your maximum allowable offer will be $85,000. If you get it for less, then you're getting really, really good at negotiating, and you're really good at getting acquiring the property itself. But for the most part, most of the flippers are not really interested in investing in marketing and things of that nature to go acquire the property themselves with the motivated seller. That's done by a wholesaler. Now, if you're a wholesaler,
Let's add another layer to this to show what a wholesaler will need to do.
a wholesaler can make anywhere from 5 to 10K on a house like this all day long. And usually the house will stay on their hands for maybe 2 weeks, 3 weeks, a month. So we're gonna assume that a wholesaler is making $5,000 assignment fee on finding this property. We've seen assignments all the way up to 60,000. So, but they usually don't happen on a property like this. The larger the assignment, the larger the ARV. So you can get big assignments on houses that got a big ARV. On houses that got a $200,000 ARV, you're gonna see a lot, 5 to 10, 15, something like that. It's not gonna go any higher than that. So the assignment fee of this case is $5,000, and the wholesaler will find now the flipper that wants to buy it at 85, and wholesaler is also going to know roughly what the repairs are. Now you gotta be careful as a flipper. Wholesalers sometimes will say it needs $30,000 in repairs instead of saying it needs 55, because number one, a lot of them don't know how to estimate repairs. Number two, a lot of them wanna up the assignment fee by displaying the wrong repair estimate on the property. We are flippers. We wholesale. We want to be as transparent as possible with our fellow flippers. So we tell them, look, man, I can flip this house with 50,000. If you can't do it, then you need to fire your contractor and find another one. So the wholesaler picked up this property for $80,000 from a motivated seller. Then he went and found a guy like us, maybe, or like a few of our friends that are into flipping houses, and he wanted to make a quick 5,000, and he said, you know what, guys, I got you a property, $85,000. You need to put 55,000 on repairs. Boom, 140 grand all in. Then you can list it 2-3 months later for 200,000. So this is the basic formula. That 70% formula on how you flip a house. Now, if the house is 500,000, apply the same numbers. If the house is $1 million, you need to do it for 700 grand all in. So now the profits, they're larger, 300,000, 400,000. The higher you go on the number, the profits are going to be higher, but also the liability is going to be higher because you need a bigger loan. Your payments monthly are going to be higher, so on and so forth. So with that being said, is there anything else that you want me to talk about here, Mr. Dennis?
No, just to say that even though your maximum offer is 80,
as a wholesaler,
or 85 as a flipper, you still want to go under because you need to leave some room for negotiation. If you go in and you tell the person your first number is your maximum offer,
yeah, if you're the wholesaler, you need to start offering like 50,000, and you'll be surprised. Sometimes they take it, and now your assignment goes to 35,000 because you gotta give this property at 70% minus repairs to your flipper. Any flipper that has got cash available and loans available will pick it up at 70%. Now, once you start going above 70%, then they start they don't get as interested on the property itself for the fact that the liability is on their side, and they know that if they make a mistake, then they're not gonna make any money on a flip like we have. We have actually flip houses that we haven't made money on, and the reason why is because they either stayed on the market for too long, or we bought it more expensive than what we were supposed to, because maybe we fell in love with the house, and there's too many variables. But if you show them the property at 70%, it should be okay. They should take it, no questions asked. They're always gonna try to come negotiate you down a little bit, but if you stand your ground, then you should be okay. So just to recap on the numbers, ARV is 200,000. Your profit, you should be shooting for a $60,000 profit, which is 30%. Then you're buying it and fixing it for 140. Out of that 140, your repairs were 55. The flipper bought it for 85,000. Maybe the wholesaler bought it for 80 or 75, making 5 to 10K. And this is how a perfect example on how a real estate transaction at 70% all in works.
Yep. So if you got any questions, make sure to just go on our website, or not website, our
Renovating Riches Radio, guys. Go to the website, subscribe, hit like, share.
Or on Facebook. On Facebook, once the show is uploaded, you can make comments there, and
YouTube. You need to go to YouTube, hit subscribe, share. Also go on our Renovating Riches Radio website. And if you want to see some of the properties we've sold as a wholesaler, go to 70%allin.com. And that's the 70. Can you write it down real quick, Dennis? Yeah. 70%allin.com. You're going to see some of the properties that we have available and some of the properties that we have sold in the past. And they all pretty much fit this criteria. That's why we named the website that way. And 70%allin.com is the number 70, the word percent, allin.com. And don't forget that this show is sponsored now by directmailout.com. You need yellow letters to find motivated sellers to get properties like this. Go to directmailout.com. Place your order. Is 75 cents, including postage, 85 cents on first class. So, with that being said, you guys have a great day.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye.